Okay, at this time, I'd like to call a meeting to order. It's currently 9 o'clock, and this is the Ventura County Local Agency Formation Commission, Wednesday, July the 19th at 9 o'clock. So, moving on the agenda, we have Pledge of Allegiance. John, would you?
Yes,
lead
sir.
us, please?
Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Rochelle, we have a roll call.
Commissioner Avalon? Here. Commissioner Crosswhite?
Here.
Commissioner Parvin?
Here.
Commissioner Zaragoza?
Here?
Commissioner Hassan? Aye. Chair Richards?
Yes.
And alternate Commissioner Santangelo?
Here.
Thank you all. Item number 4 on our agenda is a review of the agenda. I think there is a request to move items, agenda item 21 and 25 to the beginning of our public hearing items. Any concern with regards to moving those items forward? Hearing none. What's that? Is it?
He's
Comment? No? Okay. All right, I believe agenda item 21 is first, and we have a representative from the auditor. I think is going to be joining us via Zoom. Kai, is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, so item 21 is regarding the audited financial statements for fiscal year ended January 30th, 2022. Kevin Randolph with Eide Bailey, that's the company that the commission retained to prepare the audit, is here to make a presentation via Zoom. Due to some family circumstances, he will have to leave by 9:30, so the request was that his item be presented early. And item number 25 is a presentation by Dave Ward, who is the county planning manager, regarding Ventura County Planning Division Housing Element Program, HED, regarding infrastructure forum. And so we ask that that be held toward the front of the meeting, just out of respect for Dave's time.
All right, thank you. Do we have Kevin on the line?
Is Kevin available? Yes, he is. I would recommend that, I'm sorry, Chair, that we do public comment first and then consent items 7 through 9 and then move to items 21 and 25.
Fine. Do we have any public comments? Okay, hearing no public comments. We have consent items 7 through 9, and everyone reviewed those. Any interest to pull an item?
Move approval.
I'll second.
We have a move and a second. All those who would indicate by voice their representative.
You have ayes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Hearing all. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you. Kai, do we have Kevin available?
Right, yes, so item 21, the recommendation is receive and file and the attached auditor's annual financial statement report for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. This is consistent with commission policies that does require audits to occur every year. And so with that, this is Kevin Randolph with the firm that the commission retained, Eide Bailey, who was one of the ones responsible for preparing the audit. So I'll turn it over to Kevin.
All right, thank you very much. Kevin?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Barely.
No.
No, not very well.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit more, more volume.
I apologize. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I apologize for that. If you can hear me, I will get started. Okay, my name is Kevin Randolph with Eide Bailey, and I'm here to present the audit for Ventura. And Jessica Anderson is a partner on this job, and she was unable to be here today, so I'm presenting in lieu of her. With that, I will get started, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. The first document I'm going to go over is item number 21 and attachment number 4. And that is a 2-page letter, and that letter is dated June 7th, 2023. This is a slight change in our procedures. We have started sending a planning letter to the governance on our audits, and we made this change right as we were starting your audit. Normally, we would send this letter much earlier, and you would get it before the audit and not when the audit's being presented. But we went ahead and prepared this letter, and I do apologize for any confusion, but I'm going to go over that letter briefly. And again, going forward, you get this letter much earlier. I do want to focus on page 2 of the letter. We do risk-based audits, and so we identify risk on all of our audits. And once we identify those risks, we design procedures to address those risks. And we design risks on every audit. And the 2 risks we have here are fairly standard risks. The first one is management override of controls. In our view, internal controls are what keeps an entity functioning, keeps their accounting in line and functioning, and there's always a possibility that those controls can be overridden by management if management chooses to do so. I put that on pretty much all of my audits, and it doesn't mean that anything happened, it just means that that could. And so once we identify that risk, we design some procedures to address that, and those procedures are, we perform inquiries about any override of controls or any fraud with various levels of people within the entity. We test a sample of journal entries, and then we just keep a mindset that this override could occur. I am glad to say that the results of our procedures, while we had this risk, we found no issues or problems. And again, identifying a risk is not indicative that there's a problem. It's just how we do our audits. The second risk is for GASB 87. GASB is the Government Accounting Standards Board. They create the rules that we play by for government accounting. And there was a new standard this year for leases. And what that means is most any time you have a lease, that now will need to be reflected on the balance sheet as an asset and a liability. That's a change. It hasn't been that way before. It was just an expense before. And so we felt that there's a risk that the organization could not identify all of its leases, or a lease could fall through the cracks and not be recorded. The only lease we have is for the facilities that Ventura uses. And we looked for other leases by looking at a sample of disbursements and made some inquiries, and we found no other leases other than the facilities lease, which was properly accounted for. So again, while we found these 2 risks, we found no issues or problems resulting from those risks, which is what we want. With that said, I'm going to go into the financial statements themselves. That is item 21, attachment number 2. I believe that is a 28-page document, and these are the financials that we audited. And I'm going to go through those relatively briefly and be glad to answer any questions. I'm going to start with the audit report, which is on pages 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to focus mostly on page 2. Under the subheading opinions, the second paragraph, that's the summary of our opinion. And we did provide what we call a clean opinion on the financial statements, an unmodified opinion. That's the opinion that you want to get. It means that we found that the financial statements were consistent with generally accepted accounting principles, and we had no issues or findings. So a good, clean audit. I would point you to the bottom of page 2, where we do note the new accounting standard discussed, which was GASB 87, the lease standard. We properly implemented that new standard, and again, we only had the 1 lease. So while that's new, it was not an issue. I'm going to go over the numbers briefly, and I'm going to start with the balance sheet, which is on page 10. And I'm going to focus on the left-hand column, which is the general fund. Total assets as of June 30th, 2022 were $607,517. That's made up almost entirely of cash, $602,421 in cash, with a little bit of receivables, but pretty much assets consist of cash. It's a fairly simple balance sheet. Liabilities were $15,103, mostly going to be contracted labor payable. So a little bit of accounts payable under. If I net assets and liabilities, I'm left with fund balance. Fund balance was $592,414. That is made up of committed fund balance, which is fund balance that the entity has set aside at its discretion for future litigation should it occur. Assigned fund balance is for possible future budget deficit. If I back out those two, I'm left with unassigned fund balance of $365,414 that can be used to fund the ongoing obligations. The adjustments column, we did add a leased asset of $87,001 that is being amortized or depreciated over the life of the lease, and that nets to $59,527. All right, I'm going to go to page 11, which is the income statement, listing of revenues and expenses. Total revenues for the year ended June 30th were $801,988, most of which consists of apportionment revenue from the various entities within the district, and then filing fees of $38,000. Expenditures were $783,408. Most of that's just going to be general government expenses. And we did have interest income of $5,297. That nets out to a positive increase in fund balance of $13,283. Another way of looking at it is net income was $13,283. Fund balance did increase from $579,131 to $592,414. To skip down to page 24. So towards the end. Page 24 is a budget comparison schedule. I think this is a useful tool. This shows what your budget was, and it shows what your actual was. So page 24 gives you an idea of how the entity performed compared to its budget. Budgeted revenues for resources inflows were $775,962. Actual was $805,267. That's a positive variance of $29,305, or meaning you brought in about $29,000 more in revenue to your budget. So a good positive increase. Budget expenditures were $875,962. Actual were $783,409. That's also a positive variance, meaning you spent less than you budgeted by $92,000. So altogether, we performed about $122,000 better than budget than anticipated. I'm going to skip down to pages 27 and 28. As this is a government entity, we perform certain internal control procedures over the entity, looking for just any internal control issues. And we're looking for anything that we would consider a material weakness or a significant deficiency in internal control. And as we state on the last paragraph of page 27, we did not find any such matters. Page 28, the first paragraph, we state there that we found no instances of non-compliance or anything else that we are required to report under government auditing standards. So again, a good clean audit with no issues and no findings to report. That's all I'm going to go over on the financial statements. And finally, item number 21, attachment 3. This is our final letter to the commissioners summarizing our audit. There's a lot of wording in here, but basically it just says that we conducted the audit according to standards and in timing that we had planned on, and no risk other than we've already discussed. And we had no difficulties in dealing with management relating to the performance of the audit. Management was very cooperative, gave us everything we needed in a timely fashion. And it also says that we had no either corrected or uncorrected adjustments to the financial statement. So we didn't have any recommendations to change the financial statement numbers themselves. And we had no disagreements with management. And with that said, that is everything I have. I would be glad to answer any questions or take any comments.
that conclude your report, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Although a little difficult to follow, but in any event, any
I'm
questions?
sorry.
Any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate the opportunity for the in-depth report on our audit. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to work with you.
Okay, next up, I believe, is Mr. Ward is going to give us a presentation regarding housing elements. There we go.
Good morning, Chair Richards, Commissioners. I'm Dave Ward, Planning Director at the County of Ventura. I'm joined today by my Housing and State Mandates Policy Team, which is the Planning Manager Rashida Katadakia, sitting behind me, and Senior Planner Adam Paranel. They're part of working on our housing element. So today I have a program that I want to highlight because it does involve a touch with LAFCO and other agencies in the county. Is the PowerPoint available?
Excuse me, Dave, could you either speak a little closer or could you turn the volume up?
Certainly. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. The county completed our housing element back in October of 2021, and we got certified by December of 2021. We were the first housing element actually in the entire SCAG region to get certified. It was quite a feat, a lot of effort of our planning staff, including some additional staff that are no longer working on the housing element, but we were very pleased to get through the whole process and are now eagerly working on all of our programs. In fact, we have programs A to Z, 26 programs that we need to implement over the 8-year period. One of those is Program D, which is Infrastructure Constraints. It actually has several components, but the key one that I'm highlighting to you today is that the county shall convene all stakeholders, agencies, and service providers in a forum to discuss the policies that impact infrastructure necessary for housing development. The purpose of the discussion would be to identify constraints and solutions in providing water, sewer services, dry utilities for housing. This particular program is tied in our element to be done this calendar year, 2023. So we're queuing up that work right now. For context in the county, our Regional Housing Needs Allocation, RHNA, is 1,262, spread across the various income categories shown on the slide. So these are the housing units that we need to produce in unincorporated, so outside the cities, during the next 8-year cycle. 8 years for the 6th cycle RHNA. Our analysis for our housing inventories, which I know some of you representing cities are familiar with your own housing elements and the various sites analysis that occurs across the income levels. And you have to identify, as you know, buffer, meaning additional housing potential in your zonings of the city and in the county on how we would achieve those numbers if adjustments happen during the 8-year cycle. So in our category, you can see down there in the highlighted gray line that we have additional capacity, but our RHNA allocation to achieve is the 1,262. As you all are probably familiar with too, this cycle of the housing element added in additional requirements tied to where those sites and housing would occur as it relates to high or low resource areas, meaning the ability to achieve housing, particularly for lower income type housing that would be in areas where would have higher resources, such as parks, schools, other types of social services that would benefit that additional housing. So this graphic, while there's quite a few colors on it, is representing where we have our high and low resource areas. And then in the red square highlights the different categories of low, medium, moderate, or above moderate housing sites spread across the county. These are the areas of focus for the county on our housing element as we proceed with the cycle. What we want to do with this forum is to bring together those agencies, regulatory framework, housing advocates, those that are involved in trying to produce housing across the county. We know that occurs by both the cities, not just the county. Our focus, since it's our housing element, we'll use examples for some of those high-low areas, identified housing sites that the county has identified as really case studies to hold a conversation about how we can try to achieve more housing in our county, particularly affordable housing, and see in the conversation identifying those regulatory items, constraints for providers, and have a dialogue about how we could achieve, what if, might we, could we, in a conversation, and see what comes out of that conversation. My hope, at least, is that maybe we'll get a handful of key items that could be looked at. That, of course, involves a lot more individuals and agencies to go forward with acting upon something, and that's not the focus of the forum. The forum is just to bring together those individuals for a conversation and see what comes out of that conversation. There would be a report out of that that's tied to our housing element, and we present it to the Board of Supervisors for sure, because that's a requirement. We determine once we go through the process how we might share that information out to LAFCO as well as the cities, because I do think there's a relationship to some of the cities that might learn through this process and could be applicable. I'm going to be meeting with the city planning directors later this week to give them an update on this program, let them know our schedule through the fall. We're anticipating that this forum would be in November. And it's going to be of a technical nature. It's involving the staff, the folks that are really involved in the technical aspects of how to achieve infrastructure and how to address regulations. Part of that is your board as well as it relates to service areas and agencies. And so that's why we've been really appreciative that Executive Director Loma has been interested in this program, has met with us, and we're going to keep their staff involved. So this is really an opportunity just to fill you in on what we're doing, let you know what will happen in the fall. And then after we get through the forum, we'll determine how we'll package things up and share those items. But the goal is definitely to share the results. And with that, that is pretty much what I have. Any questions you might have of me? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dave.
Mr. Chair. So Dave, you also met with Oxnard, with Ashley Golden, and also with Emilio Ramirez on the housing element?
On this program?
Yes.
Our first engagement will be with the city planning directors on Thursday.
On Thursday? Okay. Thank you, Dave.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
I have a quick question. You know, I know so little about all this that you're doing, but what is low resources when you talk about available?
This is new for the state, so we're all learning quite a bit about this. It was not part of the previous housing elements. But what they're trying to address is to balance out within a jurisdiction, whether that's a city or a county, the opportunities that if lower income individuals, families housing has been occurring in one particular area, whereas other parts of that city or county may have higher resource areas, residential, surrounding with parks, adjacent with schools, good education systems. Are there ways in which the new housing being produced can be identified in some of those locations? So while you're still achieving housing, the fundamental goal of housing units, the added advantage for that particular family and students, children, those kind of things can take advantage of what occurs around the housing. That access for closer parks, that access for better education, particularly for that particular school district. That's part of what this new round of housing elements required. And we're learning, we're having conversations with HCD, they're trying to give us guidance too. So it's a learning aspect, we'll see how it goes, but it adds one more opportunity and a challenge to see how we can achieve that through this cycle.
So why is it initially you said 2029? How did that year come by?
The state at this point uses an 8-year cycle. It used to be different time periods in the past, but right now they're on an 8-year cycle. So all the jurisdictions across the state are on 8-year cycles, but they're staggered so that HCD, that the state can do their review of housing elements. I would say, even though it's an 8-year cycle, they've added a lot more reporting requirements and including check-ins mid-cycle. For example, at the county, we have a review in 2025, 4 years into the cycle, where we need to show how well we've done on producing both housing units towards the target I described, the 1,262 units, as well as key programs. And if you aren't achieving those numbers as anticipated, an agency may have to go back into their housing element, do an update, do a rezone, do something to show how you're going to achieve that 8-year cycle. So far, our housing for the first reporting period that we just completed in April for slightly over a year, because that's how the cycle started, we're at 30% of our RENA. So we've had some projects come forward, but things will balance out. So we're pleased for the first year, but it's every year counts as we move through the cycle.
Thank you, Dave.
Dave, I have a question. With regards to your stakeholders, are you going to include the municipal advisory councils in various areas of the county?
Not at this stage. We have a list of stakeholders that were involved in the housing element, and we're looking at that so that we could have the sense of affordable housing builders, the advocacy groups for housing, those kind of things. The forum itself is going to be technical in nature. It's trying to address the technical side of how the regulations work together. So that's the focus of the forum.
Yeah, I noticed in kind of a worksheet, that you're talking about the area plans, having them being updated. Are you aware that SOMAS is interested in creating an area plan?
I have not heard that, Chair.
Okay. They're in the throes of the beginning of that discussion, so just so you're aware of it. Also, on your chart, is there an inclusion of the 360 farm worker dwelling units that are in that table?
Yes, thank you, Chair Richards. Yes, that project, the SOMAS Farm Worker Project, the first phase of that is counted in our building permits for that. There's additional phases coming, but that's one of the reasons why our first year of reporting showed us at 30% achieving our total RENA, is because of that project.
Any other questions? Yes?
I just wanted to follow up on that project, because I know to our executive director that you had a memo on that project in your future projects piece. So is there anything in LAFCO law that takes into consideration the housing requirements of the county? If the state has said that they have certain RENA numbers that they have to meet, how is that balanced with then the other laws and policies?
Regarding the farm worker housing complex, there's one proposed out in SOMAS. Well, I mean, it was approved out in SOMAS for development. The other farm worker housing complex that I mentioned in my update memo is proposed on the North Avenue area north of Ventura. So that's a project that will be coming to the commission in the future for water provision. Regarding affordable housing, LAFCO law does provide that one of the factors that the commission must consider when making a determination on an annexation or what have you, that affordable housing be one of those considerations. And it's, so certainly any project that is going to come before the commission that does include affordable housing component, we will provide an evaluation of, to make a finding for that factor. So there's no requirement that the commission approve affordable housing, but it must be a consideration of the commission. And if I may, Andrew and I met with Dave and Kim Perlhart, the Director of Resource Management Agency, to go over this program. It was new to us at the time. And at that time, I did fully commit LAFCO staff to participate in this forum and help it achieve its goals. So I just want to make you aware of that.
Any other questions? All right, Dave, thank you very much. Look forward to a very important element in your general plan.
Yes, thank you very much. And again, we would appreciate LAFCO staff support too. So thank you. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our public hearing items. First, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to receive?
So
and
moved.
file?
I'll second.
And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on to our public hearing items. Guy?
Okay. We have a lot of public hearings, so the commission will have to vote on each one of these individually. I'm going to take a little bit of additional time for these first two items because there is some background that I think the commission should be aware of, especially the newer commissioners. And for the remainder of them, we will not take a lot of time as far as presentations. So this is agenda item number 10. This is the Sphere of Influence review. It's LAFCO 230S for the Fillmore Piru Memorial District. Okay, just a little bit of background. So LAFCO law regarding spheres of influence, it defines a sphere of influence as the probable physical boundary and service area of a local agency as determined by the commission. So the sphere of influence is a tool of LAFCO. LAFCO establishes it, and LAFCO determines what it considers to be the future boundaries of these agencies. It also provides that on or before January 1st, 2008, and every 5 years thereafter, the commission shall, as necessary, review and update each sphere of influence. So at a minimum, every 5 years, the commission must at least review these spheres of influence, and that's what we're doing here today. So the Fillmore Piru Memorial District, it was formed in 1950 under the California Military and Veterans Code. It owns and operates the Veterans Memorial Building in Fillmore. It has a 5-member board of directors. And under an agreement with the city of Fillmore, the city provides staffing. It provides basically all of the services for the district. That includes maintenance, it includes administration. It even includes, the district books the Memorial District on behalf of the district. Its revenue consists primarily of a small share of the 1% property tax. There's a $5 annual parcel tax for all properties within the district. And then it also receives revenue from rents and fees for the use of the memorial building. This is a map of the boundaries of the district, which are in yellow, and the sphere of influence is in red. You'll see it includes Fillmore and extends out to the LA County line to include the community of Piru. I'll touch on it in a little bit, but the reason that the district extends beyond the sphere of influence is that the commission reduced the sphere to remove areas within the national forest or territory owned by the federal government. So I want to do a little bit of background, go over some background, because there was some issues identified with this district, some deficiencies. And it started in 2007 when the commission accepted a municipal service review. The findings of that review were generally good. The district was financially stable with no debt. It was in compliance with budgeting, audit, and financial reporting requirements. No service deficiencies were identified. But the MSR did note that there had been no board of directors elections since 1990. So they had gone 17 years without any elections. And also there was a concern that there was no ability to generate other sources of revenue, leading to concerns about the long-term revenue viability of the district. So the recommendations was that the district change the election cycle to even years. At that time, it was off years. The hope was that if it was turned to even years, there would be competitive elections held. Also that the county and the city of Fillmore should take steps to actually dissolve this district, given the long-term viability concerns, within 5 years, contingent on some criteria that were identified in the MSR. And then the recommendation was also to update the sphere to remove territory in the Los Angeles National Forest, Los Padres National Forest, which the commission did. So 5 years later, the 2012 Sphere of Influence Review. The findings during that review were that the district continued to be in compliance with budgeting and financial reporting, identified no service deficiencies. The election cycle was changed to even years at the recommendation of the commission, and that did result in a competitive election in 2010. However, there was still a concern about its ability to generate other sources of revenue, so that concern was still there. And the recommendation at that time was that the commission should apply a provisional sphere of influence to encourage the district, county, and city of Fillmore to agree to a plan for dissolution. Now, a provisional sphere of influence is a commission policy. When the commission applies a conditional sphere of influence, it's essentially the commission conveying to the district that there are issues identified that involve LAFCO that need to be resolved. So it's just really not necessarily a warning, but this really needs to get resolved. And the commission then reviewed the sphere, but it made no changes. 2018 Sphere of Influence Review. It found, again, the district was financially stable. And so this is three reviews now, over 15 years. The district continued to be financially stable. It was in compliance with budgeting and financial reporting requirements. No service deficiencies were identified. However, it remained constrained in its ability to generate other sources of revenue. However, by this time, the concerns over long-term financial viability, they never materialized. So this was a point in favor of the district, that these concerns really haven't shown to be true. However, regarding the elections, still no elections had occurred since that 2010 election. And under these circumstances, the Board of Supervisors gets to appoint a board member under the Principal Act. So in 2012, 2014, and that should be 2016, the Board of Supervisors appointed board members. There was no elections. But the Principal Act for the district allows for this. It specifically allows that when there's not a competitive election, there is a process for the Board of Supervisors to make an appointment. And the Principal Act also requires that at least 3 of the 5 board seats be designated for military veterans living within the district. So of course, this limits the number of residents in the district that can actually be appointed to this board. So that's kind of an explanation on why there's not competitive elections. So given this, that the district was in full compliance with everything that the commission considers, the commission again reviewed the sphere of influence and made no changes. So the current sphere of influence, the 2023 sphere of influence, these are the determinations that the commission must make today. They're explained in the staff report, so I won't go over them. But I will share with you what we found as part of our sphere of influence review. So the city of Fillmore continues to provide administrative, operational, and maintenance services. The city does ensure that the district is in compliance with budgeting and financial reporting requirements. We identified no service deficiencies. Yes, it remains constrained about long-term ability to generate other sources of revenue, but that continues to be not a concern. They're still financially viable, and it's just not a concern. There's still no election since 2010. The Board of Supervisors appointed board members in 2018, 2020, and 2022, but as I said, that's allowed for under the Principal Act. So the concerns raised in the 2007 MSR really have not come to fruition, and I just wanted to go over the background just to convey that to the commission, that everything seems fine with this district. So the current sphere of influence continues to represent the probable boundaries, future boundaries of the district. So our recommendation is that the commission adopt the resolution, making determinations, reviewing the sphere of influence for the Fillmore-Piru Memorial District. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, any questions of Cotton?
I have a comment on this, not a question. This is very strange way of doing business. It seems like sphere of influence is smaller than the district. It looks like somehow it should be the same, like the county and city of San Francisco, something like that should be done. And also, I would like to know a little bit more about the dissolution that they're talking about. Nothing happened.
Let's take it, your first point is the district has no authority up in the Los Padres National Forest. In addition to that, the federal government is not subject to that $5 parcel tax. So there's really no reason that it should be in the district boundaries at all. So when the commission modified the boundaries, it was basically a signal to the district that, hey, at some point, you should probably come and detach this area from your district because you're not generating any revenue from it and you're never going to provide services to it. So that was the reason for that. The dissolution, this was before my time. I had to go back and research this. It was mainly driven by the concerns about the long-term financial viability and the fact that they were not having elections. In the last review 5 years ago, those concerns were alleviated, and here again, they're not concerns any longer. So the idea of dissolution is kind of not on the table and hasn't been for 10 years. So.
Thanks.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I have a question, but I know that there's public comment, so I don't know if you wanted to take that first, and then I have a question.
Well, you can ask a question
Okay.
first.
So you had mentioned that in the Principal Act, it says that there needs to be 3 out of 5 of the members of the board veterans. So is there any means by which, so let's say you reach a day when the district is still financially viable, but for one reason or another, you can't find 3 veterans living in the district to serve on the board. Is there any way that that can be modified to 2, or does it always have to be 3 so long as the district exists?
And I don't have an answer for you. There may be some accommodation for that in the Principal Act. I didn't go that far into the research, so I don't know. I can follow up on that if you would like me to.
Okay, I was just curious in case, I mean, and there are more veterans that are actively involved in things, it seems like now, than there might be, 50 years from now. So I was just curious if there was any, if it ever got to that point, if there were any options or not.
Right, and I was actually surprised by that. This was the first Principal Act that I've come across that requires board members to have a majority of the board to have a specific qualification to serve.
Any other questions? Mohammed?
Fine.
No? Okay. We do have a speaker, Mr. Manuel, I'm sorry about your last name.
Minijades.
How do you pronounce it?
Manuel Minjares, I'm a representative of Ventura County Supervisor Callie Long's office. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to speak on this item. I just wanted to just mention that our office has been working diligently with the members of the Fillmore Piru Memorial District. They're actually working very hard on a resiliency grant through a federal grant to do some work on their the roof and electrical work to keep the building up and running. And they're doing that in collaboration with both the county and the city. The center itself is the focal point for a lot of cultural activities, birthdays, quinceañeras, and it's just a very big focal point of the community. So thank you once again for reviewing this item, and just know that our office and the city are working hard to keep the building financially viable, and I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
I have a question for you after you're done talking.
Minijades.
I have a question for you.
Minijades.
Relative to identifying veterans to be on the board, are you aware of any concerns there?
Not at this point. I mean, we've had longstanding veterans that have stepped up and have been on the board for a number of years, and we've had a newer resident, a veteran, step up in place and be a part of the board. So at this time, we haven't, but recognizing that some of the longer-term members are getting up there in age, it is important for us to keep the importance of that relative in the community, and, we're a part of that as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that is a great facility there.
It is.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Hearing none. We'll close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a second. We have a motion for approval, and you could signify by saying aye if you're in favor.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you. Guy?
Okay,
Next item
thank
on
you,
our
Mr.
agenda.
Chair. Agenda item number 11, LAFCO 2310S, the Piru Public Cemetery District. Here's another district that has had some deficiencies that were identified several years ago, and has been working through these issues for several years now. Okay, the Piru Public Cemetery District was formed in 1914. It provides burial services in the unincorporated community of Piru and the vicinity. It owns about 2.9 acres in Piru, the community of Piru. About 1.3 acres is improved with the cemetery. The remaining 1.6 acres is unimproved hillside. It derives most of its revenue from a $25 annual parcel tax and fees for services, as well as a small portion of the 1% property tax. So you'll see the boundaries, again, are in yellow, and the sphere of influence is in red. For the same reason as the Piru Memorial District, the sphere of influence was pulled back to remove federal land. So in 2007, the commission accepted a municipal service review prepared for the district, and it identified a lot of deficiencies, a number of issues. It found that the district did not prepare annual budgets and financial reports. It did not prepare required 5-year audit ending for fiscal year 2003. It was reliant on volunteers for pretty much everything: administration, maintenance, landscaping, and burial-related services. It had no regular meeting location, which is out of compliance with the Brown Act, with that and some other reasons. It did not have the financial resources necessary to maintain operations. At this time, it was not receiving that $25 parcel tax. And the cemetery had capacity for only about 5 years. The recommendations of that MSR were that the Board of Supervisors should appoint itself as the Board of Trustees, which is allowed for under the Cemetery Principal Act, or that LAFCO initiate dissolution of the district. The commission chose to update the sphere of influence to remove territory in the Los Padres National Forest, and they did adopt those recommendations in the sphere of influence, as part of the MSR. So the second sphere of influence review started in 2011, and it didn't get to the commission until 2013. So in 2011, when staff started working again with the district had not addressed many of those issues identified in the 2007 MSR. However, LAFCO staff did agree to postpone the review to allow the District 3 supervisor to assist the district in complying into addressing those issues, which happened in 2012. And by 2013, the 5-year audit ending in fiscal year 2003 was completed. The 5-year audit ending in 2008 was nearing completion. It adopted a budget for 2012-2013. And most importantly, that a $25 per parcel assessment was passed by voters at this time. So that now is their primary revenue. Trustee terms became current, and the Brown Act issues were resolved. And they developed plans to expand the cemetery into the adjacent district-owned property, which was basically hillside, still is. So the commission's action was that they reviewed the sphere, and they made no changes, and this was to provide the district additional time to complete the 2008 audit, and then to work on expanding the cemetery, because that's crucial for the cemetery district to continue to provide services. So the next sphere of influence review began in 2017 and went to the commission in 2019. So in 2017, when staff reached out to the district to start the sphere review, soon, almost right before staff met with them, the 4 trustees replaced the 4 of the existing trustees, and there was 1 vacancy. So 4 new trustees were appointed to the district. And apparently, there was a lot of acrimony between the new trustees and the old trustees, so much so that the old trustees would not give the district's records to the new trustees. So when we were asking for all these documents, the district was unable to provide them. They were unable to provide budgets, financial reports, meeting agendas and minutes, records of burials and plot sales, and available capacity at the cemetery. The expansion of the cemetery into the adjacent property had not started. However, here again, LAFCO staff postponed the review to allow now Supervisor Kelly Long staff to assist the district in addressing these issues. So into 2018, with the help of District 3 supervisor staff, the district adopted a budget for 2018-2019, which was prepared with the assistance of county staff. Audits for 2016 and 2017 were completed, which did determine that the district was now financially stable because it had that $25 parcel tax. However, still no adopted budgets from previous years, no records of plot sales, only 4 trustees on the board, 1 was vacant. The expansion of the cemetery was found to be unlikely due to the steep terrain and the cost, and the district was still unable to provide basic records. So in January, staff brought this to the commission, and the commission basically determined the same things: no adopted budgets, no record of plot sales, plot availability was extremely limited, and expansion unlikely, and the district was unable to provide basic services. So because of this, the commission directed staff to return in 6 months and identify all of the options available for the commission, which staff did, and brought it back to the commission in July. The 4 options provided were that the county board of supervisors terminate the district board and replace it with itself. Number 2 is LAFCO consolidate the district with other cemetery districts. Third was LAFCO just dissolve the district and form a county service area to take over cemetery services, or allow the district to continue as it is. The commission's action, here again, they were to adopt a provisional sphere of influence for the district. Again, this is conveying to the district that they had significant deficiencies that they needed to address. And they continued the review for 18 months. Here again, to allow the third district supervisor staff to assist the district. And this came at the public hearing. The staff for Supervisor Long's office committed to this commission to assist the district to the extent it can to rectify and fix these deficiencies. So 18 months later, at the March 2021 commission meeting, financial management practices had improved with the assistance of the county executive office and the auditor controller's office. A balanced budget was adopted, and quarterly and monthly financial monitoring was provided by the CEO's office. The Board of Trustees was engaging with the county on plans to expand the cemetery, and that includes staff from Supervisor Long's office. Meeting agendas were being prepared, minutes adopted, meetings held in a consistent location. So the commission, based on all this positive progress, the commission supported the district under its current organizational structure to allow continued work with the county to address these deficiencies. So that was in 2019, though it was started in 2017. So here we are at the 2023 review. Again, these are the determinations. They're explained in the staff report. But here are the findings for staff that are conveyed in the staff report. The district continues to have really limited capacity to provide services beyond 1 to 2 years. According to the board president, they have only 3 unsold full burial plots in the cemetery and only 4 unsold cremation plots. However, the district is considering the purchase of an above-ground columbarium with several cremation niches. This will be a few dozen, I believe, which will provide this service for many years. And there's a request being put together for the assistance of the U.S. Navy, the Seabees, to grade the hillside to allow for the cemetery expansion. Again, Supervisor Long's staff is assisting with this. The hope is that the Navy can consider this a training exercise for the Seabees and do it, without cost. The district has adopted budgets for each of the last several years, again, with the county's assistance. It's currently working through the 5-year audit, and meeting agendas prepared, minutes adopted, and meetings held consistent with the location. So really, the only outstanding issue with the district now is the capacity issue, and they're working on that. So our recommendation is that the commission keep the sphere as provisional until the next sphere review, and that will provide the district time to continue to work on the cemetery expansion and the purchase and construction of the columbarium. So with that, our recommendation is that you adopt the resolution, making determinations, reviewing the sphere of influence, and making no changes to it. And that concludes my presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Kai. Any comments from the commission?
Just one question, Kai, is that the Navy Seabees that are going to help with the grading?
That's the hope. The application process is ongoing. I believe Manny can probably speak to that.
I know Manny worked on that for a long, long time, but I just wanted to find out because normally you have to go through I'm not sure if it's the captain or the DOD or the Navy for that matter.
Yeah, apparently there's a process,
Yeah.
so.
But that's a good point. Good point if they can help. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we do have a speaker. Manuel back again.
Thanks again. Manuel Manjares with Supervisor Long's office. Yes, we are actually in the queue to work with the Seabees on this project. They've got a number of projects that they have, and, it's a years-long process to get to our project. It's my understanding that it's likely that they will get to our project within the next 3 years or so. And all that just kind of depends on a lot of other factors that are beyond our control, but that's our current understanding at this point. Their contribution is what's going to be needed to make this work. With that $25 parcel tax, while it is allow them to save for a significant portion of the work that's needed, with inflation, it's not going to cover the entire cost of the work that's needed. So, but we've got a great relationship with the Navy and the Seabees, and it's our understanding that their contribution will be fulfilled, and we're working hard to make that happen. Open for any questions you might have.
I have a separate
It's a
question.
good idea. It's a good idea that you're looking for some money to do the grading. I mean, it should be continued if it's possible. That's all I can say.
I have a question. Is the Lake Piru subject to the $25 parcel tax?
Lake Piru, I'm not sure if it's in there. Well, I believe they're within the service district, so
They're under
unless
United-
they get an
United Water.
exemption as
United
a
Water.
government entity, I would assume that they're within the district.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure.
So, all right. Okay, at this point in time, make a motion for acceptance of staff.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Mohammed. We have a second. All in favor of voice? vote?
Mohammed.
Mohammed. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any of those opposed? None. Thank you very much. Kai?
Yeah, and before I move on, I just want to point out to the commission just the importance of municipal service reviews. The issues that were identified for these two districts came about because of municipal service reviews. And they identified these issues, allowing the districts to work to resolve them. It's just a really important tool for LAFCO.
Thank you.
And, okay, moving on, Ventura Port District. So this is LAFCO 23-11S, a sphere of influence review for the Ventura Port District. And I've already read that slide. So the Ventura Port District was formed in 1952 under the California Harbors and Navigation Code. It owns and operates Ventura Harbor. It has a 5-member board of commissioners. Its boundary and sphere of influence are closely aligned with those of the city of Ventura. The district is unusual in that any annexations to the city of Ventura include an automatic annexation to the Port District, and that, of course, implies that the sphere of influence would be amended as well. This is the reason why the boundaries and the sphere of influence so closely match the city. And this applies to all port districts. It's interesting, a port district has to have an entire city within its boundaries, and only one city. And in this case, it's the city of Ventura. Revenue, the district is, I lost the term. Anyway, the primary revenue are from rents and fees from district-owned properties in the harbor and tenants of Harbor Village. And they get a share of the 1% property tax. Enterprise district, that's the word I was trying to reflect. It's an enterprise district wherein it operates kind of like a private entity where its fees and revenue generation pay for the services. Very little is tax-based. So a little bit of background about the sphere of influence for the district. It was established by LAFCO in 1982. It was updated in 2007. It was reduced in size, and this was because the city of Ventura reduced their sphere of influence to remove hillside area to the north of the city. So the commission matched the city's sphere of influence after that. It was reviewed in 2012, there were no changes. It was reviewed in 2017, there were no changes. And then it was reviewed again 2 years later, in 2019, there were no changes. But I wanted to explain why there was a sphere of influence review that occurred 2 years after the 2017 sphere of influence review, because that is an off-cycle review. So after the 2017 review, staff came across an article in the Ventura Star regarding a 2,000-acre mussel farm that was being proposed by the district. So they were proposing it initially within state waters off the coast of Ventura. However, due to concerns by fishing interests, they moved the proposed location of the 2,000-acre farm over 3 miles off the coast south of Ventura. So this is outside of state jurisdiction and within a federal jurisdiction, and also outside their sphere of influence and boundaries. So here's the proposed mussel farm. You'll see the boundaries and sphere of influence are the black and red line there. So this proposal was outside the Port District boundaries and sphere of influence. It was outside the county of Ventura, and it was outside the state of California. When staff wasn't aware of this in 2017 when it came to the commission, so the commission wasn't aware of it. So when staff made aware of it, it necessitated another sphere of influence review. This occurred in 2019. And this was because the current sphere of influence no longer represented the Port District's planned service area. And on top of that, according to LAFCO law, the performance of functions to operate something like a mussel farm is subject to LAFCO approval. Either LAFCO has to approve an out-of-agency service agreement, or LAFCO has to approve a sphere of influence update and annexation of the territory to the district. So moving that proposed site outside the boundaries of the sphere of influence triggered LAFCO law. The commission determined, after a lengthy public hearing, that LAFCO has no jurisdiction to authorize functions or approve annexations outside state jurisdiction. The district had to get LAFCO approval to do it. LAFCO had no authority to approve it. Also, the commission determined that port districts have no express or implied authority to perform functions outside state jurisdiction. So it became a state jurisdictional issue. Therefore, the commission concluded that the current sphere of influence continued to represent the probable boundaries and service area of the district, so made no changes to it. So that was the reason for that off-cycle sphere review. So moving on to this year's sphere review, again, the determinations. We did consult with the general manager of the district, identified no deficiencies. The district is doing everything that it's supposed to be doing. It's a very well-run district, actually. So the sphere of influence continues to represent the future boundaries and service area of the district, and we are recommending that you adopt a resolution reflecting as much. Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Think you got questions? Mohammed?
The mussel farm is still going on?
No, the Musk Farm was dropped as a port district project. I believe there is still some interest. The Port District, I believe, is still supporting the idea of mussel farming off the coast, but they're not doing anything to further that.
It was a good idea, but it didn't come through. That's what it is.
Any other questions? Can I add a general question? Why does the sphere extend so far into state waters? I mean, what's the purpose of that?
So 3 miles.
The rationale is that it's to align with the county boundary, which aligns with the state boundary. So actually, the cities of Ventura, Port Hueneme, and Oxnard, their jurisdictional boundaries actually extend 3 miles off the coast. It's 3.5 nautical miles. The reason that the Port Districts does is because it has to align with the city's boundaries and sphere of influence.
Mr. Chair, the mussel farm was more like 5 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, I think, over
was
6
way
miles
off
from
the-
the harbor, and at its closest point, it was over 4 miles off the coast.
I remember there was quite a bit of controversy over that. But,
Yes.
but it was taken care of. Good.
I had another general question on the exhibit, the map. It shows a gray area, kind of a little island. What is that what is that?
I don't know. It's just the civil. I tried to find out the history on why that was, because that's actually in the city, but it's not in the district. And I cannot find an explanation on why that is.
I was wondering,
The way
was
it
it like
is.
the fairgrounds or something?
Yeah,
but it's-
I do not know why
Good point.
that hole is there.
Yeah, I don't know, just out of curiosity. So, all right, thank you, Kai.
I have a follow-up question. If the mussel company wanted to come in within 2 miles, it would have come to LAFCO.
If the district was proposing the mussel farm within their boundaries, it wouldn't come to LAFCO.
It
Yeah,
wouldn't have come to LAFCO?
Would not have.
Okay.
No. They do have the authority. They have broad authority, but that authority is limited to their district boundaries.
So why, I wonder why they didn't do that.
They actually tried that initially.
Okay.
But it's actually really interesting because they had to do a number of reports about, the pattern of fishing vessels leaving Ventura Harbor. And there was really no location that wasn't well traversed by fishing vessels that were going to be obstructed by this mussel farm. So the fishing industries were opposing the location.
Got it.
And at that time, LAFCO had no involvement. But as soon as they moved it outside their boundaries,
Got it.
then that triggered LAFCO.
Interesting.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for acceptance of staff's recommendation.
Motion.
Well,
Second,
motion
I'll
there.
second it.
you have a second? All those in favor by signify by saying aye.
I'm-
Aye. Hearing any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you. And we have agenda item 13. Andrea.
Good morning. This is item number 13, which is the Sphere of Influence Review for the City of Camarillo. This is the same summary slide that you've seen before in the other presentations for the other spheres, and it includes the LAFCO requirements related to spheres of influence, including the requirement for the commission to review the sphere of an agency every 5 years to reflect the probable physical boundary and service area of that agency. The sphere of influence determinations are shown on the slide here and include the present and planned land uses in the area, the present and probable need for public facilities and services, the present capacity of public facilities and adequacy of public services, the existence of any social or economic communities of interest, and for an update of a sphere of influence of a city or special district that provides public facilities or services related to sewers, municipal and industrial water or structural fire protection, the present and probable need for those public facilities and services of any disadvantaged unincorporated communities within the existing sphere of influence. An in-depth municipal service review was done for each of, well, 9 of the 10 Ventura County cities back in 2018, and prior to that in 2012 and in 2007. And that was as part of the sphere of influence determinations, or the review at that time, and some updates were made. And so at this time, as part of the sphere of influence reviews for the cities this round, we determined that a municipal service review for each of those cities was not necessary. So we're just doing a more brief process involving just what you'll see here and what you've seen for the previous items. This is the city boundary in yellow for the city of Camarillo, and the sphere of influence is outlined in red. The city of Camarillo was incorporated in 1964 and has a population of about 71,000. Based on a review by LAFCO staff and consultation with city staff, the city's sphere of influence reflects the current and probable service area of the city, and therefore no changes are being recommended. A notice of public hearing was provided as required in LAFCO law, and we have not received any comments related to this sphere. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the city of Camarillo, including that an update is not necessary. And that concludes the presentation for the city of Camarillo sphere.
All right, thank you, Andrea. Any questions of Andrea? Hearing none.
Motion to approve.
Now, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Andrea. Item 14 on our agenda.
This is the sphere of influence review for the city of Fillmore. And I'm not going to go over these slides. I'll just move quickly through them for the remainder. This is a map of the city of Fillmore. Again, the yellow is the city boundary, and the red outline is the sphere of influence. You'll see here that the city does extend outside its sphere of influence, and that is into the Santa Clara River. And that it's for the same reason that the sphere was pulled back, as Kai had mentioned, for the cemetery and the memorial district. That's an indication to the city that eventually that should be detached from the city, because it's in the Santa Clara River and there's no anticipated development there. The city of Fillmore was incorporated in 1914, and it has a population of about 16,500. And based on a review by LAFCO staff and also discussions with the city staff, the city sphere continues to reflect the current and probable service area of the district, and so we're not recommending any changes here. Again, notice was provided as required, and we received no comments. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere for the city of Fillmore, including that an update is not necessary.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
So moved.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Andrea. Moving on to agenda item 15. We're halfway there.
Right, next is the sphere of influence review for the city of Moore Park. The city was incorporated in 1983, and it has a population of 36,000. Based on review by LAFCO staff and also a discussion with city staff, the city sphere continues to reflect the probable and current service area of the city, and there are no changes that are being recommended here. The notice of hearing was provided as required, and we did not receive any comments for this city either. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the city of Moore Park pursuant to government code, including that a sphere of influence update is not necessary.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions of the commission?
I'll move staff's recommendation if there's no speakers.
Second.
You have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Agenda item 16.
All right, this is the City of Oxnard Sphere of Influence review. The City of Oxnard was incorporated in 1903, has a population of 202,000, and in review by LAFCO staff and the city staff, the city sphere reflects the current and probable service area of the city, and we're not recommending any changes to the city's sphere at this time. But we did make a correction, which is shown in red here at the terminus of Paseo Mercado, that is just next to the Gold Coast Transit District facility near Costco. And that is a correction to the sphere so that it matches, it aligns with the city's jurisdictional boundary there at the cul-de-sac. So that was a minor correction that we made here as part of this process. Notice of public hearing was provided as required. We did not receive any comments for the City of Oxnard Sphere of Influence review. And staff recommends that the commission review the sphere of influence for the City of Oxnard and make no changes. No update is necessary.
Move approval.
Approval. Do I have a second? I have a second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor by signifying.
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Agenda item 17.
Okay, next is agenda item number 17, the City of Port Hueneme Sphere of Influence Review. The city was incorporated in 1948, has a population of 22,000, and based on review by LAFCO staff and consultation with city staff members, the city's sphere of influence reflects the current and probable service area of the city. Notice was provided as required. We've received no comments. And staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution reviewing the sphere and making no changes.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions, Andrea?
No.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Yes.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, second. Sorry.
All right. We have a motion.
Mohammed Zaragoza.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor by signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Andrea?
All right. Item number 18 is the Sphere of Influence Review for the City of San Buenaventura, which was incorporated in 1866 and has a population of 110,000. Also, no changes are recommended based on review by LAFCO staff and consultation with city staff. So the boundaries continue to represent the current and probable service area of the city. The sphere does include the community of Saticoy, which is shown, can't get the pointer to go here, but it's on the eastern part of the city, that sphere of influence area that's not within the city. And that area is being provided water by the city. And development within the Saticoy area is limited due to the city's policy regarding maximum water meter size. And the community is provided sewer service by the Saticoy Sanitary District, which is operating despite a cease and desist order issued by the Regional Water Quality Control Board in 2013 due to noncompliance with waste discharge requirements and impacts of deficient sewer lateral lines. And these problems are exacerbated by limited financial resources to remedy that situation. So consistent with the Commission's determinations as part of the municipal service review conducted last year in 2022 for the Saticoy Sanitary District, the city should engage in discussions with the district regarding annexation of the Saticoy community to the city. Notice of the public hearing was provided as required in LAFCO law. We've received no comments regarding the sphere of influence review for the city. And staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere for the city of Ventura, including that no update to the sphere is necessary.
All right, thank you.
Question.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions?
Andrew, can you go back to the map? the areas that are within this sphere of influence that are also white, those pockets, are they still under sphere of influence?
They are within the sphere of influence, except for that area that you can see at Harbor and the freeway. You see that thicker red line there? That area is excluded from the sphere. Oh, right there, yeah, that was it. Right there. Other than that, all areas are within the city sphere.
They're not annexed to the city?
Sorry?
Are they not annexed to the city?
They are not. The areas in white are not.
Okay, thanks.
Those areas are protected by the city's SOAR ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
You mentioned that Saticoy, it's recommended that Saticoy become part of the city of Ventura?
It's recommended that the city and the district continue to have discussions, given that the city does provide municipal services within Saticoy.
So are they having those discussions?
I think to a general degree.
Okay.
And we don't know specifically. There seems to be some more people talking about the need to do that. Saticoy is a disadvantaged, unincorporated community, so that is kind of driving some of the discussions. I believe Supervisor Levere's office is also interested in those discussions as well. So to what degree and to what seriousness, we don't know at this point.
Okay. All right. I thought maybe you had had some insight when you were researching this.
Yeah, we had discussions with them as part of this process, and then
Yeah.
also with the Saticoy Sanitary District as part of the municipal service review process last year.
Okay.
And there is a significant cost for the city to do this. I think that's one of the primary factors in preventing it from happening, primarily regarding upgrading the sewer system out there.
It's too bad there aren't grants available for that sort of situation.
Our understanding is that the district is pursuing some, so hopefully the district can upgrade that infrastructure, which may perhaps encourage annexation in the future.
Okay. Thank you.
Jenny, you had a question?
So the 3/4 inch meters, is that just because they're not within the city's boundaries? That they're
Correct.
unincorporated?
Correct.
Okay. So if they were to someday become incorporated, would that change?
My understanding is that that would not apply, that limitation would not apply because that's outside of the city's jurisdictional area.
Right, yeah, the city's policies limiting the size of the 3/4 to a 3/4 inch applies pretty much everywhere outside the city's boundaries, except for the North Avenue area. There's no such limitation up there. And it was explained to us that because there's a different water source in that part of the city that allows them to provide more water than Saticoy. But if Saticoy is annexed, then it would be eligible for the same services that are provided elsewhere in the city.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Andrew, the sphere of influence has really nothing to do right now with the sewer system, but when they apply for annexation, that's when it happens, is that correct? That they have to upgrade their municipal services?
When they annex,
If the city wants to annex Saticoy,
if the city annexes the Saticoy area, then I imagine we would go through.
incorporate it, make it
Right,
part of the
I imagine at that point, there would be no need for the Saticoy Sanitary District, and most likely that would be a
Then the city would
dissolution.
take over then, correct?
That would be, yes, that would be the option, or the most feasible, is just have the city take over that. Hopefully, the district can improve the sewer system. The sphere doesn't need to be changed. This is already indicating that the commission sees that as part of the city at some point in the future. And then the city would take over all services that are provided there now.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for accepting staff's recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, move forward. Next item on the agenda.
Next is item number 19, the Sphere of Influence Review for the City of Simi Valley. The city was incorporated in 1969, and it has a population of about 126,000. And based on a review by LAFCO staff and discussions with city staff, the city sphere does continue to reflect the current and probable service area of the city. Notice of public hearing was provided as required, and we did receive comments from Teresa Jordan, which have been included in the record. Staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations and reviewing the sphere of influence for the city of Simi Valley, including that an update to the sphere of influence is not necessary.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
You have a question first.
It's really related to Teresa Jordan's comments. Are we going to make any response back to her comments?
To my understanding of her letters, I think her main focus is related to the cemetery district. So there was nothing contained in the letters that made us change our recommendation regarding the city sphere.
Okay, just wanted to acknowledge that she put a lot of effort into her letters, and her heart's in the right place.
Yeah, I have the same question, so.
Well, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of staff's recommendation signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, move forward. Item agenda 20.
Item 20 is the sphere of influence review for the city of Thousand Oaks, the last one for today. The city was incorporated in 1964. It has a population of 126,000, and the city's sphere of influence continues to represent the current and probable service area of the city as reviewed by LAFCO staff and in consultation with city staff. And so again, here, we're not recommending any changes. The city's sphere of influence includes the unincorporated area of Ventu Park, right in this area right here, which is provided municipal services by the city. LAFCO routinely authorizes city wastewater and water service to this area through extraterritorial service agreements, and LAFCO staff's discussion with city staff included encouragement for the city to consider pursuing annexation of this area to the city at some point. The notice of public hearing was provided, and no comments have been received regarding City of Thousand Oaks Sphere of Influence review. And staff recommends that the commission adopt a resolution making determinations to review the sphere of influence for the City of Thousand Oaks, including that an update to the sphere is not necessary at this time.
Thank you, Andrea. Any questions of staff? Comments? I'll entertain a motion for accepting staff's recommendation.
Moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, thank you very much. All right, agenda item 22. Kai, you have some comments on it?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any comments with regards to item 22?
It's just, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. At the October CalAFCO conference, there'll be an election for the board of directors for CalAFCO. There are 16 members of the CalAFCO board, and they're divided into the 4 regions. Ventura LAFCO is in the coastal region. And for the next 2 years, terms are 2 years, there's a seat open for, on the coastal region for a public member or a city member. So this is just giving the commission an opportunity to nominate a city member or a public member if they do wish to run for the CalAFCO Board of Directors.
How often do they meet, and is there travel involved?
They meet 4 to 6 times a year. There is some travel involved. I mean, it's kind of flexible right now, coming out of COVID. So I believe they encourage in-person attendance. It's usually one in Northern California, then Southern California, then Northern California, Southern. So there is some travel, and it'll be for 2 years.
All right, thank you, Kai. Any comments or suggestions or recommendations on anyone stepping up to become a director? All right, hearing none. Say again?
No, I'm drinking water. I'm drinking water.
All right, thank you very much. Then I will go ahead and move on to the next agenda item, 23. This is the Board of Elections. Kai, I understand this takes place during the conference?
Right, so as I mentioned, that election will be held at the conference in October. So each LAFCO in attendance does need to identify a voting delegate to vote on behalf of the commission. Historically, this commission has appointed the chair as the voting delegate and the vice chair as the alternate, assuming both are going to the commission. Going to the conference. So yes, the commission just needs to identify a voting delegate and an alternate.
And this is a 2-year commitment?
This is just for the one
Just for the one,
election
item.
in October.
Chair,
Anyone
are you
attend?
attending?
Yeah, I will be attending.
Well,
Well, then I'll move that you are our delegate.
All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye?
All right.
And is there, if the commission wishes to appoint an alternate delegate,
is Mohammed going to be attending, right?
Mohammed, you going to be
Is
attending?
Jenny attending?
Oh, Jenny, I'm sorry.
Thinking about it.
Oh, okay, well, maybe you're the,
I'll second that. She's going now.
Motion and a second.
and that's fine. And if the commission wishes just to, if Commissioner Crosswhite does not attend, I can always serve as or Commissioner Hassan.
Right.
Okay.
Then you're our backup then.
Okay, so we have a backup.
Yeah, I'll make a
alternate.
motion that Mohammed's our
Alternate.
alternate. Yeah.
I love,
Okay.
a good thing I'm drinking water.
Do we need a vote on that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, thank you very much. Okay, we still on Cal LAFCO, agenda item 24.
Okay, so this is also regarding the Cal LAFCO conference. This is a call for commissions who wish to submit nominations for the Cal LAFCO Achievement Awards. These will be reviewed by a subcommittee of the board and announced at the conference. The categories are on the second page of the handout. What would most likely apply here is Outstanding Commissioner, Outstanding LAFCO Professional, Excellence in Public Service category, Legislator of the Year if someone has somebody in mind, and then the Lifetime Achievement Award. There's no requirement that the commission submit a nomination, but we wanted to make that option available to you.
Any comments? Hearing none, I will move on. Thank you, Kai, appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Correspondence received. Kai, you want to update us?
Yeah, that's just a receive and file.
Receive and file. Okay. Then the last item on our agenda, 27, your executive reports.
Yeah, I don't have any report on the future agenda items. Those are pretty much self-explanatory. I do want to update the commission that we have scheduled a meeting with CAPS Media. So we are moving forward on working on those videos that the commission authorized us to do as part of the budget process. And of course, the Cal LAFCO conference. So for all those commissioners, well, let me back up. Every year when the commission adopts a budget, it includes funding for all commissioners to attend the conference at the commission's cost, at the agency's cost. So like I said, it will be held from October 18th to October 20th. That's a Wednesday through a Thursday, a Wednesday afternoon. There are some activities that occur Wednesday morning. If you're interested in, you would go up the day before. But if you're interested in going, please let either myself or Rochelle know as soon as possible, because there is some savings in registration if we do it early. And of course, the hotel rooms book up pretty quickly. So yeah, that really concludes my update.
All right, thank you very much.
Is the date for next meeting?
The next meeting, I think, is
Next meeting?
September.
What was the question? Oh, yeah, yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's no scheduled meeting in August, so the next
September?
meeting is September 20th.
Okay.
Okay, any other business to contend with? At this point in time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye,
Thank you very much.
real quick.
Have a wonderful day.
You too.